Meet Alex. He's charming, confident, and magnetic. He knows exactly what to say to make others feel special. He's carefully crafted his public image to portray himself as successful, generous, and compassionate. He's a real good guy. Behind closed doors, however, it's a different story. The truth is, Alex thrives on control. He's uncannily good at reading other people, identifying their vulnerabilities, and using them to his advantage. He's a master of gaslighting, twisting facts during arguments to make others question their memory or perception. I never said that. You're imagining things. Alex uses guilt and pity as weapons, recounting exaggerated tales of his own hardships to deflect accountability or excuse bad behavior. When confronted, he turns the tables, accusing others of being too sensitive, overly dramatic, or ungrateful. His manipulative tactics leave his partner and friends in a constant state of confusion, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. Do you know someone like Alex? Many of us do. Alex is a textbook narcissist and a master of manipulation. In the following pages, you'll learn more about emotional manipulators just like him, how to recognize their tactics, understand their motivations, and protect yourself against their abuses. Let's begin. Manipulation is a universal phenomenon. Anyone can be manipulated and anyone can manipulate. However, while almost all of us are guilty of occasional manipulative behavior, certain people are habitual manipulators. Narcissists elevate manipulation to an art form. These folks thrive on control and adoration. They often use flattery, gaslighting, and guilt to manipulate others, portraying themselves as victims or heroes to shift blame and maintain power. People with antisocial personality disorder, also known as sociopaths or psychopaths, are master manipulators with a ruthless streak. They view relationships as opportunities to exploit others and deploy charm or deceit to achieve their goals without remorse. People with borderline personality disorder may manipulate others out of fear of abandonment. Their tactics often include emotional outbursts, guilt-tripping, or creating crisis to keep others close. Addicts frequently use manipulation to sustain their habits. This may involve lying, guilt-tripping, or emotionally blackmailing loved ones to gain the financial or emotional support they need to enable their addiction. But you don't need a disorder, a diagnosis, or an addiction to be a certified manipulator. Perhaps you know a manipulator who fits one of 6 categories. The first is the disorienter. This manipulator thrives on chaos, leaving their target confused and second-guessing reality. For example, a coworker might give contradictory instructions, then criticize you for not meeting expectations, leaving you off balance. Next, we have the charmer. Charmers establish trust quickly and use emotional closeness to manipulate their target. Imagine a new friend who showers you with compliments and kindness, only to guilt you into lending them money. The intimidator uses fear to dominate, employing demeaning comments, angry outbursts, or the silent treatment to push compliance. A partner who belittles you in public or uses prolonged silence to punish is a classic example. The sadist manipulates purely for the thrill of control. They might spread rumors to create drama purely for their own amusement or sabotage others' success for no personal gain. The self-punisher abuses themselves in order to abuse others. They hold themselves hostage emotionally, threatening self-harm or wallowing in misery until their demands are met. Finally, there is the martyr. Martyrs weaponize their generosity, reminding others of their sacrifices to elicit guilt and compliance. For instance, a parent might say, "You're so ungrateful," or "If you loved me, you'd want to spend Christmas with me." Manipulation is insidious and covert by design, which is why it's sometimes so hard to recognize when someone in your life is manipulating you. Understanding whether you're dealing with a martyr, a charmer, a sadist, or some other type of manipulator will allow you to see through their tactics. How does manipulation happen? There are 3 methods manipulators tend to use: the hit-and-run approach, the hot and cold approach, and the slow and steady approach. Consider Sam and Dana. Sam is a suave, good-looking man who meets Dana at a hotel bar. They flirt and laugh, and within 30 minutes, Dana feels like she's made a real connection. But when Sam abruptly leaves, Dana discovers her purse and passport are gone. Sam has vanished. Sam is a hit-and-run manipulator. These manipulators are opportunists, using whatever tools they have at their disposal: charm, confusion, aggression, or gaslighting to exploit their targets when the chance arises. This behavior isn't limited to con jobs like Sam's. Other hit-and-run manipulators might perform the emotional equivalent of a con job. Think of a professor who belittles a question posed by a student in order to feel superior, or a partner who picks a spontaneous fight simply to gain leverage. These manipulators thrive on disruption and exploit vulnerability in fleeting interactions. Lily manipulates in a more personal, drawn-out way. When she meets Steve on a dating app, their chemistry is electric. But one night at dinner, Steve unknowingly says something that upsets her, and Lily grows icy. This begins a recurring pattern. Minor incidents trigger either cold silence or explosive anger. Steve is left walking on eggshells, trying to decode Lily's ever-shifting triggers to keep the peace. Lily is a hot and cold manipulator, creating an unpredictable emotional atmosphere that keeps Steve anxious and off balance, always striving for a stability that will never come. Rita's experience reveals the insidious nature of slow and steady manipulation, played out over the long term. Raised by an overbearing mother who masked control as concern and used guilt as a weapon, Rita grew up hearing things like, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me. And no one loves me like you do. What would I do without you?" Over the years, Rita's mother made any challenge to her authority seem selfish and ungrateful. Rita, conditioned to see this as normal, struggled to express or receive love in a healthy way and spent years in therapy unraveling these unhealthy patterns. Like Sam, Lily and Rita's mother, manipulators work in a variety of covert ways. Recognizing their behaviors and patterns, whether chaotic, erratic, or gradual, is a key step in breaking free from their grip and reclaiming your emotional well-being. Romantic relationships are where we are at our most intimate and vulnerable with another person. Unfortunately, manipulators know exactly how to exploit this vulnerability. If you're questioning whether your partner might be manipulative, watch for signs. You feel hesitant to disagree or confront them, fearing it will set them off. Your relationship veers from fine to confusing and complicated with little warning. Conversations often leave you frustrated because your words are misunderstood or twisted. You feel like nothing you do is ever good enough and find yourself trying to earn their love by constantly pleasing them. Meanwhile, your partner may imply they'll make life difficult if you don't comply with their demands. They may threaten to leave when you try to enforce boundaries or dismiss your feelings entirely when you express them. They use approval and affection as tools, showering you with love when you give in to them, but withholding affection when you stand your ground. Realizing your partner is a narcissist or manipulator can be an ego blow. Only foolish people would stay in such a relationship, right? Wrong. Manipulators are expert at forming strong bonds with their targets, and they have a whole emotional toolkit designed for this purpose. One tactic is trauma bonding. A manipulative partner alternates between affection and cruelty, creating a cycle of emotional highs and lows that fosters dependency. After a heated argument where they insult you or threaten to leave, they may come back with heartfelt apologies, gifts, or grand gestures of love. These moments of tenderness provide relief, making you feel valued again. Over time, the unpredictability of their affection keeps you emotionally tethered. Manipulators also lean on intermittent reinforcement, a psychological tactic where rewards are given inconsistently, making the recipient work harder to regain approval. A partner might shower you with praise and affection one day, only to criticize or ignore you the next. Imagine a partner who praises your cooking at lunch but scoffs at your efforts at dinner, leaving you desperate to recreate that winning moment. This inconsistency creates uncertainty, making you crave the positive reinforcement even more. They're also experts in future faking. This involves making grand promises about a better future to keep you invested, even when they have no intention of following through. They might talk about moving in together, planning a dream vacation, or starting a family, dangling these visions just out of reach. These promises can prevent you from leaving, as you're always waiting for that perfect future they've described. Protecting yourself against manipulation requires 3 essential tools: boundaries, standards, and deal breakers. Think of boundaries as a semi-permeable wall, like the membrane that surrounds a cell. They regulate what you let out, your actions, reactions, and behaviors, and what you let in, such as how the words and actions of others affect you. The boundaries around how you act are external boundaries. A healthy external boundary might look like saying, "I can't lend you money right now," to someone who has failed to pay back loans in the past. The boundaries around how you absorb other people's actions are internal boundaries. A healthy internal boundary might look like choosing not to internalize a colleague's critical feedback as a reflection of your self-worth. Many hesitate to create boundaries out of fear of rejection, believing they need to conform to others' desires to remain likable. And here's a hard truth. Some people will reject you for setting boundaries, but those are not your people. Manipulators especially will challenge your boundaries, making you feel selfish or unreasonable for enforcing them. Stand firm. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it is self-respect. Your standards create your boundaries because boundaries exist to uphold the standards you set for yourself. If you're wondering what your standards are, take a look at your life. They are reflected in the food you eat, the people you spend time with, the treatment you tolerate. Whatever you allow in your life reflects what you value and, in consequence, your current self-worth. Raising your standards starts with believing you deserve better. Then there are deal breakers, the ultimate line in the sand. They clarify what is absolutely unacceptable. Examples of healthy deal breakers include refusing to tolerate any kind of abuse, condemning dishonesty, or removing yourself from relationships that lack reciprocity. Without clear deal breakers, you risk enduring manipulation until your breaking point is reached. If you can clearly define and hold firm to your boundaries, standards, and deal breakers, narcissists and emotional manipulators won't be able to undermine them, and you'll never have to settle for less than you deserve. Escaping manipulation is challenging, especially when the manipulator is someone close, like a partner, family member, or friend. To move on safely and effectively, you'll need to be strategic about the degree of communication you choose to maintain. One option is to go no contact, cutting off all communication. This extends beyond avoiding conversations. It includes not checking their social media or discussing them with mutual friends. Removing triggers is crucial. Delete their number, block them online, hide keepsakes. Fill the void created in their absence with positive activities like scheduling time with supportive friends or picking up new hobbies. There are less extreme options like going low contact, which involves limiting interactions to the bare minimum necessary. This strategy suits situations where complete detachment isn't feasible, but extensive interaction drains or frustrates you. Instead of spending a week with a manipulative relative during the holidays, you might opt for a short visit. Bare minimum contact will vary, but you've probably reached the sweet spot when interactions don't leave you feeling depleted, resentful, or needing to vent. The goal is to maintain enough distance to protect your emotional energy while still fulfilling any necessary obligations. Finally, gray rock is a strategy best deployed in unavoidable regular interactions, such as contact with a manipulative co-parent or colleague. The idea is to become as uninteresting to your manipulator as a literal gray rock. Manipulators feed on your emotional reactions, so offer them none. Keep interactions strictly neutral. Stick to bland small talk about the weather. Avoid sharing personal details or responding emotionally to provocations. Practice emotional neutrality and prepare for any dramatic behavior they might attempt to provoke a response. If you've chosen to maintain meaningful communication with a manipulator, learn to be responsive, not reactive. For example, if a narcissistic coworker criticizes your work, calmly acknowledge their comment, clarify any confusion, and disengage from further drama. When responding, take your time. Manipulators often demand immediate reactions to pressure you into compliance. Resist. Silence and firm repetition are powerful tools to reclaim your autonomy. Set your terms clearly, not only to others, but mainly to yourself. State boundaries and enforce them with consistency. Remember, no is a full sentence. For instance, if you've said no to a request for money, there's no need to explain your refusal with the fact that you're short on cash or to defend your decision by pointing out that the last 3 times you lent money, they did not pay it back. No matter how much or how little contact you aim to have with a manipulator, you will need to move into this new stage of your relationship strategically. Setting clear boundaries and enforcing them consistently will help you begin healing. Soon, you'll be looking toward a brighter future, one in which your peace, emotional energy, and well-being are restored to you.